Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant.com, coming to you from the 2013 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. This particular Outlander Sport is the SE model with their all-wheel drive system. The SE is the mid-range of the models for the Outlander Sports and comes in at $23,600. This one also has their premium package on it, which gets you the giant panoramic sunroof with LED lights and the updated Rockford Fosgate Punch stereo for $2,000, as well as the navigation system for another $2,000, which brings you up to $27,000 and change. Add in $800 of delivery, and total price comes to about $28,000. The Outlander Sport, I think if you had to put it into a sentence or two, winds up being a car that just feels like a new car that's been sitting on a dealer lot for about 10 years. Just everything in here feels a bit out of date, even though you know that you're getting into a car that only has a couple thousand miles on it and has a 2013 on the window sticker. The nav interface that's part of this package feels similar to the one that we had in our 2001 cars, probably in about that period. The engine, which makes 148 horsepower, connected to its continuously variable transmission, doesn't really do anything all that special. With this CVT, all it sort of winds up being is like buzzy, and it's not like you're going to get yourself into trouble driving along on a 35 mile an hour speed limit road and doing that, pulling away from a stop sign. The ride is pretty well composed. The interior is, okay, but you wind up feeling like it's aged a few years as you experience it. The steering wheel winds up being this sort of thin-rimmed, hard plastic piece. The Outlander Sport is really based off of the same platform as the Outlander, but it's significantly shorter and quite a bit lighter. That lightness, because of the 2-liter that's also part of Mitsubishi's economy sort of lineup of cars, doesn't translate into sportiness, though. The Sport really is just, I think, a way for them to segment it away from the rest of the Outlander and saying that it's a smaller thing. The handling, though, at the limit is not bad. I would say it's probably comparable to, say, like a Mazda CX-5, which is one of the sportier handling of the little SUVs out there. And, the Mazda CX-5 winds up being an interesting comparison to this car, because it's another car that doesn't have an outrageously good interior in it, but it's definitely a step up on the Outlander Sport. Listen to that thing buzz. And we're going like 46. Because of its small size, the advantage of the Sport winds up being that it's reasonably easy to park. The disadvantage is the back seats are pretty cramped, difficult to get into and out of because the rear wheel arch really intrudes into the doorway. Behind the rear seats, there's a pretty limited amount of space. It's about 50 cubic feet that's available back there. Up front, the seating position's fine. You get a multi-way manual adjustment seat. And by the way, there are seat heaters on this version of the SE Sport, but unless you really read the manual, you'll never notice that they're down here on your right-hand side in a place that at least I think most people would be challenged to find them. Again, you own the car, you're going to find out these things, but it's sort of a weird design decision and placement of those switches. And while that might seem like a sort of nitpicky thing, it's sort of endemic of the entire car. A lot of it is questionable from practicality and design perspectives. The economy, at least we've seen, with the 2-liter and the CVT has been less than stellar. You know, I've been getting like 21 or 22 in mixed driving as a result of the fact that there's not a ton of power on tap. And if you leave it in normal drive in the CVT mode, it really is very lethargic. I mean, to the point of almost being dangerous in day-to-day driving activities. The good part of it winds up being is if you put it over into manual switching mode, Mitsubishi have provided the sort of Evo-like paddles that are mounted to the column where they should be, right? Because they're always in the same place, no matter where the wheel is. There's no confusion there. They're big, easy to access. So as we've been spending time with it, I've literally spent, I think, almost every minute in manual shift mode and making the decisions for myself. But I think the biggest failing is from a pricing perspective. At 28 grand, which I'll admit you get nav and the sunroof and a stereo that's really got quite a bit of grunt to it. I mean, probably the highlight of the experience of the Outlander is how much raw power for a factory stereo the Rockford system winds up having. It really does have some pretty serious grunt to it. There's a big sealed, I think, 10-inch subwoofer in the rear hatch, which does eat into a little bit of storage space, but I'm willing to give that up for a much better stereo than the base version would be. But with all of that being said, here we go. At 28 grand, it's a lot of money for the amount of car that you get, and the interior quality you get, and sort of all the rest of the feature set. For that kind of money across its competitive range, I think you can get something that's a bit newer in feeling, sportier, and even more practical than this winds up being. So, pretty rough take on the Outlander Sport. It's a car that, in all honesty, you'd kind of like to like as somebody who reviews cars, because it would really be a shame to see Mitsubishi go the way of, say, Suzuki in the United States, but it's really a pretty disappointing ride when you really get down to it, and a somewhat pricey one as that. So with that, Kevin Gordon from Autosavant.com. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.